What's going on, guys? We're going to get right into it with the NFL betting market preview for Week 5. We'll start off with the Thursday game where Tampa was 3.5-point favorites. 77% of bettors were on Tampa, so definitely not a good play to take Tampa. 26,631 bets to a healthy amount of bets put on that game. There was excellent value on Chicago, and we'll get onto that a little bit later when we take a look at the home teams. But next up, I'll talk about the Arizona. I believe they're playing the Jets this week. Yes. And the Jets had a positive test as of Friday afternoon when I'm recording this. So that game is being put on hold as of now. So there's no line. There's nowhere that you can bet this game. So we'll skip over that Arizona Jets game. Next up, Cincinnati, Baltimore. Right now, there's no live line out. I do have 13 because that's what the last line was at. This opened at 14 for Cincinnati. 67% of bettors are on Cincinnati. I believe this is because Lamar Jackson hasn't been practicing this week. Yeah, so Lamar Jackson missed practice on Wednesday and Thursday. He practiced today. He says he's 100%. So I'm expecting a line to be back out for this Cincinnati-Baltimore game shortly. But as of now, there's no value on this game. I think a lot of people jumped on Cincinnati just in case Lamar Jackson was injured, but 67% of bettors are on the Bengals. The line has moved from 14 to 13 for the Bengals, as well as pretty much every dollar bet has been put on the Bengals as of 900 bets. So that's going to get up to like 10,000 bets. We've only got about 10% of the bets for this Cincinnati-Baltimore game. I expect a lot more bets to come in on Baltimore. It's probably going to be like a 50-50 split bet percentage-wise. So there's no value here. I'd say leave this game alone. Next up, the Carolina Panthers. They opened at 3.5, but they're now down to 2. But because 59% of bettors are on Carolina, I'm not going to take them. If you could get them at 3.5, that's great value now that the line has moved down to 2. And really, like if you're trying to make money betting on sports, that's what you need to do. Is you need to be predicting lines like when Carolina opens at 3.5 that it's going to go down to 2. That's where you get your value. And as the fat guy really likes is those middling plays. So you could have got Carolina at plus 3.5. Carolina plays Atlanta, so you could get Atlanta -2 right now. You could have had Carolina plus 3.5, and you have that middling play if the Falcons win by 3 points. But as of now, for me, because of 59% of bettors are in Carolina, I'm not going to be touching this game. The Las Vegas Raiders are 13-point underdogs. 57% of bettors are on the Raiders. They also have a ton of money. I apologize, guy. They're playing the Kansas City Chiefs. I would just leave this for now. It's surprising, though, that so much money is on the Raiders. So sharps really do like the Raiders, but there also is a majority of bets on the Raiders. So I'm going to leave this game alone. I kind of expect this to go the same way that Cincinnati-Baltimore went. There's a lot of money, a lot of people on the Raiders early, which is most likely sharps, but a lot of squares are going to be betting Saturday night, Sunday morning, and that's probably going to be one of those 50-50 games, bet percentage-wise and money percentage-wise, so I would just leave this game. Next up, Philly plus 7.5. 27% of early bettors are on the Eagles. There is value here on the Eagles, but only at 1 unit. 27% of bettors, 7.5 point spread, jump on the Eagles. No line movement, no money bet percentages, so that's why I'm going to leave it at 1 unit. Next up, the LA Rams -7.5. 58% of early bettors are on the Rams. Only 600 of these bets have been put in so far, so the least amount of all the games. Just leave this game alone. 58% isn't worth taking any plays. And next up, the Jacksonville Jaguars plus 6.5. 41% of early bettors are on the Jags. That line's moved they were 7-point underdogs. It's now 6.5, and 45% more money has been put on this game than bet. So sharps are all over Jacksonville, but because they're at 41%, I'm going to actually leave this game alone. If this bet percentage comes down to 30%, this would be a 3-unit play, which is kind of crazy to say that I'm saying not to bet them now, but just because that 41%, I'm just going to leave it alone. These are the tough ones where you do have live movements, you do have a lot of money, so you can tell sharps are on Jacksonville. It would be really nice to have the Jags at plus 7 here and for there to be a little bit less bet percentage. So I'm just going to leave this game alone, even though if you want to be aggressive this week, if you want to make plays, I'd say 1 unit on Jacksonville is okay to do. But for myself, I'm going to leave this game alone. Next up, the Miami Dolphins. They're 9-point underdogs. 80% of early bettors are on the Dolphins. 18% more money, so 98% of the money is on the Dolphins as well. This is a no bet. 80%, no way. Next up, the New York Giants, plus 9.5. 40% of early bettors are on the Giants. 45% more money on the Giants. Again, because it's 40%, I'm going to leave this game alone. And that's going to be for the rest of these games. Indy, minus 1.5, 47%. I'm going to leave this, even though they opened at even and they've been bet up to minus 1.5. I'm going to leave it. I don't think there's much value there. Minnesota plus 7, 40% of early bettors are on Minnesota. 57% more money is on the Vikings as well, but because it's at 40%, I'm going to leave this game alone. The Denver-New England game has been moved to Monday. I believe they're going to play, but they don't have at least a consensus line. There is one line out where Denver is 8-point underdogs at the moment, and I believe that's at FanDuel, New Jersey. But it's still too early. There's no information on this game as far as betting market information. So I'm going to leave this game alone for now. The second of the doubleheaders on Monday night, the LA Chargers plus 7.5. 44% of early bettors are on the Chargers. 48% more money is on the Chargers as well. But there's nothing there. And then Buffalo, Tennessee is scheduled to play on Tuesday because of COVID concerns. So there is no betting information so far on that Buffalo-Tennessee game. I think books are pretty conservative when it comes to these COVID rearrangement games. Let's move on to the home teams, and we'll take a look at the Bears. The Bears were excellent value. I apologize for putting this video out on Friday, even though the Thursday night game, I hammered the Bears. I got them at the 3.5 line, even though they opened at 6-point underdogs, as well as I took the money line. I got super lucky that cashed in. But the reason why I did it was because 23% of early bettors, or 23% of the final market was on the Bears, even though only 23% were on the Bears. 44% of the money was on the Bears, as well as that line opened at 6. So tremendous value at 6. There's still value at 3.5, even though you're cutting off a couple percentage points winning. So it would have been really nice for me to get that at 6. I managed to only get it at 3.5, as well as the money line would have been a lot better at 6 instead of 3.5. But still a very nice win. Very happy. I went really big, guys. I ended up 8 units because of those 2 plays. And now that I'm looking at the market for the rest of the week, I probably won't even be putting 8 units on these games combined. There's just not very much value in the market this week. As of now, we'll see Sunday morning. There might be different plays to make, but as of now, looking at the market, it's very, very limited plays this week. As I said earlier, the Jets have a presumptive positive COVID test this morning, so that game has been taken off the betting market for now. And the Baltimore's minus 13, 33%. There's actually no lines out for the Baltimore game at the moment. There's one book that has them at 12.5, but I'm not sure if that's just the information that I'm seeing or if that's what you can actually make at that sports book. But as of now, if Baltimore stays minus 13, 33%, it's a no bet for me. They're double-digit favorites. I'm just going to leave it alone, even if they are under that 30% threshold. So to me, this is just a game I'm not going to touch. Cincinnati-Baltimore. Next up, Atlanta minus 2. I talked about it earlier. There was an opportunity for a middling play. If you got Carolina early at plus 3.5, you can get the Falcons right now minus 2. 41% of early bettors are on the Falcons, but that line movement is against them. There's 42% of the dollars, so it's split pretty evenly. This is a game to just leave alone. Next up, Kansas City minus 13. 43% of early bettors are on the Chiefs. The Chiefs opened as 12-point favorites. They've been bet up to 13. And again, double-digit favorites. The bet percentages aren't 30 or less, so I'm going to leave this game alone. Pittsburgh minus 7.5. 73% of early bettors are on the Steelers. They do have positive live movement or negative, depending how you want to look at it. But for betting market decision purposes, it's nice for them to move from 7 to 7.5, even though you're getting a worse price by taking that line. But because 73% of early bettors are on the Steelers, I'm just leaving this game alone. Next up, Washington plus 7.5. So they opened at 9.5 and they've been bet down to 7.5. They do also have a couple extra dollars on them than the bet percentages. If this bet percentage comes down to 30, this is actually a really, really nice game to take Washington, especially before they hit that 7 key number. 9.5 to 7.5, not a huge deal. So you're not losing a ton there as far as key numbers are concerned. But the Washington football team plus 7.5, if those bet percentages come down, that would be a play that I would be looking at. I believe they play the Rams. So Kyle Allen's going to be at quarterback. Not that that matters. Just focus on the market. Washington plus 7.5. If that bet percentage comes down, put a unit, maybe 2 units on the skin, depending on where that line moves, as well as how the money moves. If the money keeps going up while the bet percentages keep going down, this could be a 3-unit play on Washington Sunday early games. Then we'll look at the Houston Texans. They are minus 6.5 point favorites. 59% of early bettors are on the Texans. There's no value here, so do not take either side. Next up, San Fran minus 9. 20% of early bettors are on San Fran. So this is a 1-unit play. There's been no line movement for this game. The money bet percentage is not in favor of San Fran, so there's actually a lot more money on the other side. A lot more money has been placed on Miami. So if this bet percentage stays at 20, and if San Fran even moves up to 9.5, I'm going to be looking to take San Fran. Right now, it's a 1-unit play. It could be 2, very, very unlikely, but it could be a 3-unit play as well, just depending on the line movement and as well as how much money is put on San Fran before the game starts. Next up, Dallas Cowboys minus 9.5. 60% of early bettors are on the Cowboys. Just leave this game alone. Next up, Cleveland plus 1.5. 53% of early bettors are on Cleveland. A lot of money is on Cleveland. I got a feeling that sharps and squares that are on the Browns. I think there's more value on Indy, but this is a no bet for me as of now. Seattle minus 7. 60% of early bettors on the Seahawks. This is a game where I would just leave that alone. The New England Buffalo game, it's still too early. That game's been moved to Monday. We don't know what the betting information is on that game, so just leave it alone as of now. The only information we have is the Patriots are 8-point favorites at 1 book, so it's still too early to say what's going to happen with that market. And then on the second game, Monday night, New Orleans minus 7.5. 56% of early bettors are on the Saints. There is no value there. And then the Buffalo Tennessee line, there is no information as of yet. All right, guys. So really, there's not much value at all. The only 2 games, like Chicago was excellent value on Thursday night. Unfortunately, you guys missed out on me saying that, but I know a lot of the regulars on this channel would have been hammering Chicago just like I did. So congratulations if you guys were on Chicago. But it's 1 unit on San Fran, and if that somehow, it's strange enough, if that line moves up to 10 or more, I'm probably just going to leave that game alone at 9 or 9.5, depending on how the market fluctuates. That's going to be a 1 unit, maybe 2, maybe 3, but I'm going to wait till kickoff before I take San Fran. And then on the away side, the only place I see value is Philly, and that's a 1 unit play as well. So really watch the markets. I use Action Network to find all this information. I believe you need a subscription to get the bet percentage, line movement, and the money. So it's a good investment. It's definitely worth your while to invest in a subscription to Action Network. But otherwise, there's only 2 plays this week, both 1 unit plays, Philly and San Fran. I don't love either. That's why it's only 1 unit. So we're going to continue to watch the markets and see where the value lies as of Sunday morning.